Morning everyone, welcome to this week's Baycroft Learn. Now we've got quite a bit to cover this week and it's all based around ratio. We've already done ratio on Baycroft Learn once before, but as you know, it's something that we've been covering this week and I'm not entirely sure we've got it secured yet. So I want to cover it in this so that we can keep revising, but we'll also do a little bit more on it next week. But it's an important one to cover because there's lots of maths involved, but actually there's also some really good marks which you can pick up just by following a few basic steps. Now ratio will tend to come in 4 different forms, I would say. The first one is simplifying. We've all done simplifying. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this because we've simplified with fractions, we've simplified with ratio, but this is a typical simplification question. Remember that simplifying means saying the same thing but using the smallest possible numbers. If your times table skills are amazing, then you can probably look at some of these numbers and immediately immediately realise what numbers you can divide both of them by. However, not all of us have got those kind of times table skills, so the rule that I always say is firstly, look at your 2's. If your 2's don't work, look at your 3's. If your 3's don't work, look at your 5's. Won't always work, but in the vast majority of cases, these 3 numbers will help us to simplify. Now, what does that mean? This question here says simplify the ratio of 25 ... 35. So the first thing we're going to see is, are both of those numbers in our 2 times table? Well, no, they're not because they are odd numbers. So we're not going to use our 2's. Are they in our 3 times tables? No, they're not. Are they in our 5 times tables? Yes, they are. How many 5's are there in 25? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. How many 5's are there in 35? 5, 10, Can we go any further? No, we can't. So that is simplified. 1845. Now for some of you whose times tables knowledge is really secure, you might be able to see straight away that they are in our 9 times tables, okay? But most of us can't see that straight away, so we're going to follow this process again. We're going to say, are they in the 2's? Well, 18 is, 45 is an odd number. That's not going to work. And on, and on, and on. I'm not going to go through that now, because I want you to give it a go, okay? What I would say, however, is these numbers, in terms of which of these are going to apply, sit outside of our normal times tables. So you're going to need to use your bus stop division, okay? Once you've simplified, do you need to go further? Keep going until you've got it in its lowest possible form. I'm not going to go through it. You're going to do that, okay? Cool. So that's the first thing. The second type of ratio question is sharing into a ratio. Now here's the thing with sharing into a ratio. You this week have all shown me you can do this, okay? But those sneaky people at GCSE are going to make it look much harder than it needs to. This is our basic sharing into a ratio style question. What we've got is £24, which we're going to share into a ratio of 1 to 3. £24. Remember the steps. First thing we're going to do is decide how many shares we need to split this into. So we add these together. It's 4. We have got 4 shares. Okay? This person's going to get 1. This person's going to get 3 of those shares. So 4 shares altogether. Now we have to decide how much each one of those shares is worth. What do? We know this. We say 24 divided by 4, which gives us 6. So each of these shares is worth 6. Now we just share it out. This person's going to get 1 lot of 6. This person's going to get 3 lots of 6. So we multiply the value of the share by how many each person's going to get. You've done loads of this week and you've all secured that, which is fantastic. But then when we start to put them into questions like this, they start to get a little tiny bit tricky. This type of question, typically, I mean this isn't the GCSE question, all of the ones that we're going to look at going forwards are, but this kind of question might get us 1 mark, okay? This question here, we can see is 2 marks, and there's a bit of a gap. which means they want to see a little bit more. Alex and Thomas share 30 sweets. They divide them into the ratio of 3 to 2. How many sweets does Thomas have? There's a few more words around that, but the process is exactly the same. We've got Alex and Thomas. They're going to share out 30 sweets. Apologies if you can't see this, hopefully you can. And they're going to divide them in a ratio of 3 to 2. It's already, just by writing out our important information, starting to look like what we're really familiar with. So, we've got how many shares? 5. We now need to decide how much each share is worth. 30 divided by 5, which gives us 6. Each share is worth 6. This person's going to get 3 lots of 6, so we multiply 3 by 6. This person's going to get 2 lots of 6. 12. And that's our answer. Except it's not. We've done all of the hard work here, we've just picked up 1 mark. Let's go back and look at what questions actually asking us. How many sweets does Thomas have? Okay, just take that moment, go back, reread. Have I answered what they're asking for? I've done the work, let me make sure I make really clear that I know my answer. But this is no different to that first question, there's just a few more words around it. Okay? Let's have a look at another one. Now this one, you can't see it very clearly on here because of the size of the screen. I've had to squash it down a bit, but this one had a bigger gap. Okay? It's also a question that we have done together this week, and I've deliberately come back to this one because we got a bit confused, but actually it's exactly the same. And it's worth 4 marks. Lots of yummy marks to be had out of ratio. So we've already seen that we can do it. So let's just make sure that we're securing it. So let's have a look. Talil is going to make some concrete mix. He needs to mix cement, sand and gravel in a ratio of 1, 3, 5 by weight. We don't care that his name's Talil, that's not important. But let's have a look at that kind of formula that we've already started to look at to build this up. Cement, sand, gravel in a ratio of 1, 3, 5. He needs to make 180 kilograms. So this is now starting to look like what we have done before. So let's just go through that process. 1 plus 3 plus 5 gives us 9. So we've got 9 shares. We need to 180 divided by 9 will tell us how much each one of those shares is worth. 180 divided by 9 means that each share is worth 20. This one is going to be worth 20 because 1 times 20 is 20, 3 times 20 is 60, 5 times 20 is 100. Now here's the thing. We have not yet answered the question, but what we have done is shown we understand ratio. We've shown that we understand how to share by ratio. We've just got 2 of those marks, okay? Just by getting this far. So even if we're overwhelmed by what the question's actually asking us, it's still worth thinking, I've seen this before, I know how to share by ratio, let me demonstrate my understanding, because the examining people, the people who mark the exam, will look and they'll think, this person knows what they're doing, okay? But why would we not then go on and have a look at what the question's actually asking us? Talil wants to make 180 kilograms of concrete mix. Talil has 15 kilos of cement, this is what he's got, 85 kilos of sand, 100 kilos of gravel. Does he have enough to make the concrete mix? He needs 15 kilos of cement. Sorry, he's got 15 kilos of cement. He needs 20. Straight away we can see, no, he hasn't got enough. So my answer down here is going to be no. And I've shown why I know that to be the case. Then you've got all 4 marks. Okay? Just really by doing the same amount of maths as we did here. There's not more involved. Okay? It's just worded in a way to make it much trickier. Now the final one is a little bit harder, and it's one that we've not yet looked at, but we will do next week. Okay? Let's have a look at the question. Charlene and Danielle share some money in a ratio of 2 to 3. Charlene, Danielle, 2 3. I'm just doing exactly the same as what I've done before because it starts to look like what I want it to look like. Danielle gets £25 more than Charlene. How much does each girl receive? So what we've got to do here is decide, Danielle gets £25 more. We've got to decide what that 25 represents. Now, we can see Charlene is getting 2 lots. Danielle is getting 3 lots. Well, how many more lots is she getting? 1 more. She's getting £25 more than Charlene, which means that 1 lot is worth 25. Okay? Which means each lot has to be worth 25. That's a 5 first, isn't it? Let me put the 2 in there. 25. Okay? So, how much does each girl receive? Well, Charlene is going to get 2 lots of 25. Danielle is going to get 3 lots of 25. Okay? We've not gone through that yet, apart from these 2 who sit here. Okay? But we will do next week. I'm just going through it now so that you've got this as revision as you go forward. Little bit trickier, this one, but once again, just breaking it out into a way that makes sense to us, just breaking it down into the maths, removes some of the stuff that just makes this a lot more confusing than it needs to be. Okay? We are going to make sure you've got plenty of work to be revising on with this. If anyone has got any questions, this is your GCSE, which means your right to come and demand our time. So if you want to come and discuss any of this with us, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, get on with it.